Hey Connor, thanks for coming to the show. How's it going?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing, amazing. I love that logo behind this. Every time I see the HexClad logo, it's like it's so hexy, as we call it, right?
It's funny how since started working at HexClad, how often I'm noticing hexagons out in the wild. It's like the patterns on those little like urinal pads or
Yeah,
hexagons, and it's like everything's a hex. Like we even got these like sound mufflers on our wall over here. It's like the hexagon pattern is showing up in the wild a lot more than I ever thought it was there.
imagine that. And I absolutely love the design. I mean, I think it's one of the poshest designs I've seen ever. It like really feels premium. It feels like, yeah, if you buy this, you're like elite, kind of like it gives you that Rolls Royce vibe, like owning like a HexClad knife or
Yeah.
a pan. Yeah, I love that.
Well, and it's recognizable, right? Like it's part of the reason our product seeding strategy for
Exactly.
influencer marketing works so well because we don't need people to necessarily call us out. Like you see that pan and you immediately understand it's a HexClad pan, which is why
Yep.
product seeding works so well for us in particular.
Amazing. Yeah, we're gonna chat about that in a second. But before we dive into it, can you tell me a little bit about yourself and the brand?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm the head of growth at HexClad. Kind of a I think head of growth is kind of a fluffy title. I think if you ask five people what they do that are head of growth, you might get five different answers. But generally speaking, I describe my role as overseeing all of our revenue driving channels, specifically for .com. So I'm working on paid social, creative landing pages, website initiatives, email SMS, influencer marketing, SEO, affiliate, a lot of analytics, data polling type stuff. But really, those are all of the channels I'm either owning or overseeing. And, we have some people within like we have a head of influencer or director of influencer and SEO, who like really handles the day to day, but her and I are really collaborating on the strategy and what we want to do. But generally speaking, that's kind of how I describe my role as like overseeing our channels that drive revenue on our .com store.
Amazing. And can you like there are certain people who might not still know about HexClad, which is well, they're living under the rock,
Yeah.
but that's fine. But tell me about the brand.
No, they're just not on Twitter. They're just not on Twitter. Yeah, so HexClad, we're a kitchenware brand is how we describe ourselves. We sell everything from pots and pans to knives and aprons. We have, a wide ranging product SKU mix that is continuing to get wider ranging by the month. The core unique selling proposition of HexClad is hybrid cookware. My understanding is that we were the first brand to come out with this cookware product that was worthy of being deemed hybrid. So what that means is we've kind of taken a stainless steel pan and a nonstick pan and we've combined it into a single pan. So the hexagons that you see on the inside and outside of a HexClad pot or pan, those are actually steel ridges. And that's what gives you that incredible searing power when like, you put a protein down on the pan. That's what makes it metal utensil safe. So you have the steel ridges that are on the hexagon ridge. That's the hexagons. And then in the valleys, they're like in the middle of the hexagon. That's a nonstick surface. So that's how we've kind of constructed this pan to be both stainless steel and nonstick at the same time. And the reason you can actually use a metal utensil like a spoon or a spatula or a whisk on a hexclad pan is because the stainless steel ridges are raised in that hexagonal pattern. So when you're putting a metal utensil on a hexagon or on the pan, it's not actually touching the nonstick, which means it's not going to like, if you go to any nonstick or like ceramic pan brand, one of the biggest things they're going to tell you to do and like the use and care is do not use metal utensils on this. Like it'll chip off the nonstick. So because we've raised that stainless steel above the surface, you don't have to worry about that. The kind of main tagline we use to describe HexClad hybrid is we've taken the searing power of stainless steel, the durability of cast iron, and the ease of nonstick, and sort of put it into a single pan. And that's really our primary core differentiator from us compared to other cookware brands. We've seen some people, some of the brands, kind of launch their own version of a hybrid pan now. Obviously, like every D2C brand sees when they get a little traction, but to my understanding, we were the first brand to do it.
Oh, you've 100% aware the first brand, which is why you have a patent, right?
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly right.
Okay, before we dive in, do you love Gordon Ramsay?
So I do. Well, hold
Okay.
on. I wouldn't say I love him necessarily. Like certain people love Gordon, right? Like I like Gordon Ramsay, and I was aware of him and who he was and all of his clout headed into HexClad. I didn't, like, necessarily love him, like, I wasn't a huge fanboy of Gordon Ramsay's. What I will say, though, is, like, the respect I have for Gordon now is has definitely increased from being internal at HexClad, and just, like, we work with him a lot, not me personally, more so our head of content, but, like, that guy is so talented. He's, like, obviously, he's an incredible chef, but I don't he's, like, an incredible entertainer, and, like, his ability to
Yep.
create really compelling content is second to none. So, like, I always knew him as Gordon Ramsay the chef. I never really, like, appreciated Gordon Ramsay the entertainer, and I definitely appreciate that a lot more now. Like, if you see the This Is HexClad organic spots that
Yep.
we put out there, like, those are incredible. Our head of content did an amazing job concepting those. But, like, at the end of the day, it all comes down to the talent, right? So I just think he's got an incredible gift as both a chef and an entertainer and I don't think I necessarily appreciated the entertainer aspect as much prior to being all the way in with HexCloud, right?
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah, I kind of had a similar feeling. Like I had no doubt he was an amazing chef when he literally like cut open a fish and filleted it blind, right? So that was insane to
Yeah.
watch, and I was like, this guy is not human, but at least chef wise.
Mm.
So yeah, like now that I'm more following him, his content and whatever he does, like he's very talented. As you said, he has a unique perspective as a content creator, which a lot of, well, let's say celebrities, like celebrity content creators, don't have. That's amazing. Glad you got him on your side.
Well, 100% me too. I mean, he from a performance side, it's amazing. He performs incredibly well, which I'm sure we'll get into. But I think what's also very impressive about Gordon is his ability to like excel from a content creation entertainment standpoint in a variety of contexts, right? Like, whether he's hosting a show or whether he's like doing a YouTube video or whether he's doing a 30-second spot for an organic feed or reel or whatever it is, like he can do it all. Like he doesn't like I don't know. He can do a variety of different types of content styles and formats, and I think that's the most impressive to me is like he can do it in a bunch of different settings, and he seems to
Yeah,
always hit. So it's pretty impressive.
content machine, as we call it. That's amazing.
Mm. Yeah,
All right. Awesome. Yeah, we will come back to Gordon. Sorry, Gordon. We'll come back to you if you're listening to this podcast. I sure hope you do. That'll help me out. But yeah,
we got a
we'll come.
retweet hopefully from him.
They'll change the traction of this podcast. Yeah. So that's for sure. But yeah, let's chat retention. First question to you would
Yeah,
be what is the overarching strategy for retention at HexClad?
yeah. I mean, it's super simple. It's and this has been a big focus for me this year. It's not going to be groundbreaking when I say it, but it's simply to drive a lot of returning orders and a lot of returning customer revenue. I mean, there's a lot of tactics that we do to do that, or we use to do that, I should say. But I always look at strategy as like, what's the goal? Like, what's the end goal that you're trying to achieve? And the tactics, I think people get strategy and tactics mixed up a lot. And I'm sure a lot of people disagree with how I look at it, but to me, the strategy is the goal, i.e., like drive a ton of returning customer orders and revenue. And the tactics are, all right, what are we going to do to do that? Like, what are we going to do within email and SMS or other retention channels to drive a boatload of returning customer orders and revenue? But yeah, I mean, like generally speaking, it's super simple. That's the goal. Like, we want to increase our lifetime value and get, you know, more revenue out of our existing customer base using email and SMS marketing.
Amazing, amazing. And I think prior to our call, you also mentioned a few other channels like, education, product mix, like you're fixing some kind of
Yeah.
leaky bucket. Let's dive into that individually, right? I think I would
Yeah.
like to start with your standard email SMS, but I would like to understand how do you do it differently? You obviously have a different strategy, which is why you have like an amazing retention rate. By the way, what's your retention rate again?
We're at like, if you look at a returning customer rate and as a percentage of
Yeah.
all of our orders, it's around
Yeah.
20, I think I wrote it down, 25%. Um,
Okay.
it's 23.6%. I actually don't like that metric. I think it can be
Right.
very misleading and we can get more into that if you want.
Yep, we
But
will.
that is, yeah, roughly one in four orders is from a returning customer on our .com.
Amazing. Yeah, I mean, and for like a huge nine-figure brand, I guess that's amazing. So kudos on that. But coming back to your point,
Appreciate it.
you're welcome. Coming back to your point, let's do email SMS. How do you do it differently? What's your strategy
Yeah.
behind it?
Yeah. So like I said, we're very focused on returning orders and revenue through email and SMS. I guess there's a bunch of different pillars that we're building content and campaigns and automations around. So I can just kind of run through some of those tactics with you. I think the leading one is education. Like anytime we put out a product focused email or SMS campaign, the whole goal is to let people know what our products are, like why they're valuable and why they're differentiated and how to use them. Like those are the three things. Anytime we put out, whether it's mixing bowls or whether it's about our like core pot or pan, whether it's about like a new product, that's like the core of what we're doing. Like if you go back and look at our recent launch of the barbecue pan, that's exactly what we did. We opened up with saying, hey, here's our new product. Here's what makes it differentiated. Here's why you would want to use this. And then it's like, now here's what you would use it for. So like generally speaking, that's the formula we follow when we're explaining our products to people. Our whole goal is to give them all the information they need to make a buying decision. Like we're not overtly direct response. Like we're not going to say, oh, and by the way, you only have 1 hour left to order the barbecue pan or else it's going to double in price. Like we don't really believe in like those type of like more manipulative tactics. Like we want to lead with the product and what makes it awesome and differentiated and all that jazz. So like education is a huge piece of that. Innovation is a huge piece of email and SMS. So we've probably rolled out off the top of my head, like 7, 8 new products this year. And that's a huge reason our returning customer orders are up so much. Like innovation is at the absolute core, and we'll get more to this later, of our email and SMS strategy and driving more returning orders and revenue. So yeah, I mean, like we're every time we do a new product launch, the whole strategy is really centered around that channel. And like, how are we going to message that product in that channel? And most of our, like, you go look at our barbecue pan orders, for example, since we launched, which was Tuesday the 7th or Tuesday the 6th to our Facebook group, 90% of those orders are coming through returning customer orders. And the vast majority came through email and SMS channels. So huge, huge tactic for those channels is pushing innovation products there. Sales, obviously, like if you go look around the cookware space, sales are a big part of everyone's marketing mix. Like, really, Taylor Holiday talks a lot about this of like working your business to lead up to these tentpole moments throughout the year. We probably have, we have President's Day, we have Mother's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Prime Day, Labor Day, and then we have, holiday, so-called BFCM and Christmas or holiday time. So I'd say there's probably like 8 or so like big tentpole moments that we're pushing throughout the year, and we see massive revenue and efficiency spikes when we do those. And email and SMS is a big channel we use to promote those. Now, granted, I think what we've done a really good job of this year and what we're continuing to improve at is crafting two kind of subcategories of offers. One that really appeals to a first time buyer, like our hero products are our pots and pans, right? So we don't necessarily want to say, hey, here's a great deal on the 6-piece set to our people that have already bought before, because likely they already have that. So unless they're buying it for someone else, they probably don't want that. So something that we're starting to think a lot more about is how do we differentiate our offers for our paid media, website acquisition plays, landing pages, all that jazz, versus what we're pushing to people in our own media channels. So that's something we've started to really wrap our head around a little bit more. And I think we're getting a lot better at. And yeah, email SMS is absolutely the core driver of promoting those like retention offers.
Amazing.
Something else that we've been doing a lot of is like post purchase. Like we have a wide SKU count. There's two things here. A, we have a lot of bundles and sets that we want to get people into, where if they buy that bundle, they'll save a lot of money compared to buying all those product a la carte. Then we have a lot of products, right? So like post purchase flows for us are so important. I think it's an area of our growth business that we have so much opportunity in. Like we're actually not doing enough there. That's a core area of my focus. So something we recently rolled out is this 13-piece set upsell. So we had like, I don't know, 35,000 people in our email database, SMS database, that had either bought a 12-inch pan and not any of the other products in the set, or a 12-inch pan plus a lid without having bought the 13-piece set or any of the products in the 13-piece set. So what we did recently is we rolled out this post-purchase automation that says, if you meet these criteria, we're going to say, hey, you've bought this product already, complete your 13-piece set for $300 off. Okay. If you don't convert then, and that's the baked in offer that we have on our website. And then email two is giving them a little bit more off. Email three, giving them a little bit more off. So we're really focused on saying, hey, how can we take these people that have only bought one pan or one pot or a combination of that and get them into a 6-piece set or a 13-piece set? And that's something we actually just rolled out last week. We're already seeing, a lot of incremental revenue coming in from people that have already bought from us before. And it's going to be a huge LTV play for us over time. So a lot of focus on upselling, and that's an awesome, amazing way to get more value out of your existing customer base. And then just new products like life cycle
Launches.
marketing, cross selling. Hey, yeah. Like you came in and you asked me, like one of the things you asked, which I'm sure we'll get deeper into, is like, how do you ensure this doesn't dry up? Right. So like, I think what we've done a really good job of is
Precisely.
our launch strategy. Like our launch strategies have been amazing. Like we've done a really good, I think our barbecue pan was the best one yet. And the numbers reflect that. But to your point of like, how do you make sure those sales don't dry up? Well, you need to have lifecycle marketing happening in the background on automated basis. So not campaign sent basis, always happening, right? So like we need to be cross-selling people our pepper grinders and salt grinders after they bought our core pots and pans. We need to be cross-selling our knives. We need to be cross-selling our barbecue pan. And the way you do that is through post-purchase automations, right? So those have been something we've actively been getting better at. And we have so much work to do there because we have such a wide mix of products. But I truly think like that's going to be the key for us kind of graduating from a pots and pans brand to a complete kitchenware brand. I think the post-purchase cross and upselling, mainly the cross-selling for the graduation piece I just mentioned, is going to be critical. And like that's something I am very focused on right now, is getting all of those things built out from both an upsell and a cross-sell standpoint.
Amazing.
Couple other points to note, like product mix in our campaigns, so important. I work very closely with our inventory team to say, hey, we're projecting, 2,000 Dutch ovens to be sold this month. We only sold 1,000 last month. Like, what do we need to do to sell more of these? So like the product mix that we focus on, it's no surprise, right? But if you market products, they sell better. Like, I think early on we were kind of the belief of like, if we just roll it out and put it on our site, people are going to organically get there.
Never
No, that's
happens.
not the case. Like you got
Yeah.
to, no, it never happened. So it's like, hey, if we want to do 2,500 Dutch ovens this month and we only sold 1,000 last month, we need to audit our marketing mix for that product and manipulate it. So product mix in our campaign, super important. And then the last note I have here is like the leaky bucket. That's just about your standard best practices automations. Like you got to have all your pre and post purchase automations in place. You're just missing out on revenue. Like if you don't have your best practice pre-purchase automations in place, you're wasting some of your paid media spend. If you don't have your best practice post purchase automations, then you're not getting as much lifetime value out of a consumer that you already paid to acquire, presumably. So like you just got to have like the standard things, right? The welcome flows, the abandoned cart, the abandoned checkout. For the post purchase, we already talked about the upselling, the cross selling, the review ask, the lapsed customer flow, like all that jazz. Like you just got to have that stuff in place. And it's not like it's going to drive 3x revenue from the previous day, but over time it's going to drive hundreds and thousands of dollars or millions of dollars. And you just got to have those in place and continue to like audit and improve those over time. So I think like that's not all we do in email and SMS, but I think that's a pretty good summary of like the
Amazing.
core like revenue driving things we're doing.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, thank you for summarizing that, explaining that in detail.
Mhm.
There's a lot to unpack there. Now, I want to double click on a couple of things. One is, okay, I'll just ask all the questions and then you can answer
Yeah.
in order or however way you want. So one is post-purchase upsells and cross-sells, right? Which of your post-purchase upsells and cross-sells are the most profitable? So, which kind of cross-sells and upsells are most profitable? So for instance, let's say if somebody just goes and purchases your salt grinder and pepper grinder, right? Or somebody goes and purchases your knives. Do you upsell them with pots and pans? Do you upsell them with something else? What kind of combination, what kind of bundles work? So that's question one. Two,
Yeah.
even with your standard email flows like welcome flows, cart abandonment, browse abandonment, all of that stuff, how do you do it differently? Like is there any kind of secret sauce, that I like to call it, like the HexClad sauce, for that matter? How is it different? What do you do differently? If you could tell me that.
Yeah.
Let's do.
Yeah. So to your first question, like, how do we just, I think what you're asking is like, how do we decide what to upsell people, right? Because what we're finding is that, so we use Peel Analytics to inform a lot of this stuff. Like, so essentially what I can do is I can go in and say, out of everyone who's bought the 13-piece set, for example, what is the second and third and fourth most popular product that they bought? So I think that's super helpful for understanding like which product should we try to get people into for like second, third, fourth, knowing which ones are most popular. And then also just looking like year to date at our sales for innovation products. Like it's very clear to me like which products have the most product market fit within our ecosystem of customers that we already have. So that's really what we use to inform it because we
How
have.
quick question on that.
Mhm.
How is it clear to you? So I don't think it's like, for brands it's not clear. Like they release like 20 SKUs a year, and then at the end of the year they're like fumbling. Okay, like let's say they have like 5 SKUs which were like of equal importance. How do you know which of those five are like the best, or which of the two of the five are the best? How is it clear to you?
Yeah. So I guess, so in a world, let's assume that the strategy or the tactics to roll these products out were the exact same, right? So there wasn't any variability, which in a real world, it's not actually the case. But let's just assume that, right? So you have these, product 1 through 5, assuming the tactics were the same, like just look at your year to date orders by unit, right? Like if you had the same tactics and you sold 3x the amount of product one as you did anything else, like, well, obviously then your customer base really resonates with product one. That's not saying that you shouldn't like necessarily sunset the other products. I mean, you got to look at every product individually, but like to me, it's pretty clear that you should focus on building your marketing efforts around product one first, and then see if you can increase the sales by building out some other tactics around products 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So that's how we look at it, right? Is like, so that's piece number one. The other piece is like, sometimes you just have a ton of inventory of a product and you need to liquidate it, right? So maybe product C isn't the most popular, like in the analysis I just mentioned, maybe that one didn't have as many sales as product, A or B, but maybe we have hundreds of thousands of dollars of inventory sitting on our shelves and we need to liquidate it, right? So I might say, well, with that in mind, even though I know that we're going to have more like long-term success with product A, I might go focus on building out some post-purchase cross-selling for product C so we can start to liquidate that inventory. Maybe we decide to keep ordering it and just order less in the future. Maybe we decide to sunset the product altogether, but we can't have products sitting on the shelves. And like that's just cash that could be in your pocket that we could be investing in the business. So that's one way to look at it. And then I think like basket analyses are super helpful. Like I said, using Peel, like I can go and say, out of all the orders of all orders that were order equals 2 or more, so a returning customer order of the salt grinder, for example, what did most of these people buy prior to that? And then that can inform kind of like who I push the salt grinder to and how I message the salt grinder in the context of the previous purchases. I think between those two things, that's kind of how we inform what. So like right now, for example, we've had a lot of success with our salt and pepper grinder launches. So we're really focused on building out post-purchase surveys or post-purchase cross sells, pushing the salt and pepper grinder. Knives, on the other hand, is like we've had some success with them, but not to the extent that I think everyone internally would like to. However, I don't think we've messaged them in a very good way. And what I mean by that is our kind of messaging sequence for the knives have been, here's the overarching value props of all of our knives. Here are sets that you're going to save money on. And the missing link there is, I think what the messaging sequence needs to be is like, why would anyone buy a 6-piece knife set if they don't know what the knives are in the set, right? So I think what we need to do a better job of is saying, hey, here's the overarching USPs of the knives. Here's all the individual knives, what makes them special, what to use them for. And by the way, you can get these knives in a set for a lot cheaper than you can buying them all individually a la carte. So those are kind of two different, like the first example is, oh, we had a lot of success here. Let's build out purchase cross sell flows for this. The other one is we've had some success, but not to the extent that we want to. And I think we've actually missed the messaging. So we're going to try this again with a different messaging flow. So like those are two different scenarios and kind of two different like reasons behind building out cross sells for different products. So that's kind of what we're using to like ultimately at some point I want to have post purchase cross sells for every single non
Right, for
acquisition
sure.
product we have. Like that's the utopian ideal state. Now with that, a lot of the first order products that lead into all of these innovation products are pots and pans. So we need to figure out the segmentation piece and make sure we're not like over sending to people and make sure that like each product automation has its own moment in time. But that's how we look at our cross selling and kind of how we inform what we want to do. What was oh, you asked me about our pre and post purchase automations. Honestly, man, there's no secret sauce to it, I don't think. It's having the best practices in place and having messaging flows that make sense, right? So you look at our like abandoned cart automation, for example, we don't even do like percentages off because we already have those baked into our bundles, right? Like if you bought all the individual pieces from our 6-piece set, it's like 594.99, but it's 399.99 in the bundle. So like we don't even really believe in that because we don't think we need to do that. But what you'll notice is like we're trying to add different value along the way, right? So like email one is kind of using a different value prop than email two, than email three. So it might be like email one in the abandoned cart might be like just kind of reminding them of the value of the product. Email two might be, hey, you can pay for this over time, right? Email three might be, hey, you haven't bought the 6-piece set yet. Maybe it's too expensive. Would you be more interested in buying this starter bundle that has some of the pieces from the 6-piece set, but not all of them, right? So I think it's just thinking through like, how can we continue to provide value in different ways as this person moves through the journey for each flow? Because different value props are going to appeal to different people. Someone might be super interested in the affirm option, be like, oh, I didn't know they had that. I'm going to convert now. Whereas someone else might be like, the 6-piece set is out of my budget right now, but the starter bundle isn't. I'm going to get the starter bundle. So I think it's just thinking through that in a very intentional way and thinking about like, how does each email provide value in a different way? And like that's the lens I go into every. It's like I'm writing a brief this week for some of our pepper grinder flows. It's like, how can I do a 3 email sequence that's not repetitive that provides value? So it's like email one's going to be all about the pepper grinder, email two is going to be all about the salt grinder, and then email three is going to be all about the bundle. Like that's providing value in 3 different ways that presumably we're going to be able to connect with someone at some point along that journey with one of those value adds, right? So
Amazing.
again, I just think for the automation, just like follow the best practices. Like it doesn't have to be special or cute or like the most innovative thing in the world. Like do the basics really, really well and then they'll work for you. And then optimize them over time, right? It's like once you have baseline like click to order rates or open rates or whatever, like make change like A/B test variants and see if you can get your click to order rate from 3% on your second email of your abandoned cart flow to 4%. Like that's going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars off over time. But at the end of the day, it's like nothing cute. It's nothing
Yep.
like crazy innovative. It's just doing best practice, like direct response e-com tactics.
Agreed. Yeah. I think if a brand is clear on the fundamentals and they just do it really well, that definitely works. Plus, just a shout out, your emails are beautiful. So I'm pretty sure there's a lot of effort going into that. Like just looking at those emails, I want to purchase them, even though don't ship here. But I would really love to purchase all of them.
Yeah.
To be honest,
Well, hopefully soon.
it is so attractive. Like it is insane.
Well, shout out
Um
Homestead. We work with Homestead Studio on our email and SMS marketing.
okay.
They have some very
Jake
talented designers in that
Jacob.
department.
Yep, Jacob is amazing.
Yeah,
Shout
Jacob's
out to
great.
Jacob as well.
Jacob's one of the best. Yeah, he's one of the best
Email
e-com
email
strategists
brings
in the
yeah,
industry, I think.
without doubt.
Yeah, I think
Yep,
so.
agreed.
And Kelly Stymos is the other partner on the email SMS side, and
Yep,
she's incredible as well. So yeah, they got a really good team over there.
they're one of the goats for sure. All right, awesome. So I want to now chat about Gordon Ramsay again. Mr. Ramsay, if you're hearing this, please give me a shout out. Okay, let's talk about Gordon Ramsay. Okay, he's great at content. He's an amazing entertainer. He loves HexClad, and he's a brand advocate. He's a brand ambassador.
hmm
How much of it does it affect retention? That's one. And second, can you track it, or do you track it?
I would say it affects acquisition more than it affects retention. Like if you go into our paid media account, you'll notice that a lot of our top performing ads are really leaning into the Gordon Ramsay social proof angle. Now, that's not to say that we don't lean on it some in retention. We do, but like it's much more trackable and measurable in our paid media accounts. and it's much more effective for getting someone into the funnel than it is for like getting them to buy again. Now, what I will say we do is, so like we use Gordon to acquire a customer. We use Gordon in a very direct response way, right? Like we're using him in ads. He's talking about the pan and the value of the pan, and he's saying, "Go get yours at hexclad.com," right? Like very direct response. Hey, we want you to buy this. Our customers love Gordon. It's no surprise they love Gordon, because if someone sees a Gordon ad and they buy, presumably they love Gordon. And like, yes, you can see that in our ad account, but you'll also go into like our reviews and you'll see people mentioning Gordon, like, hey, Gordon wasn't wrong when he mentioned this. It's not just through the performance marketing ad data, it's through the reviews. You can see it too. We do leverage Gordon and retention, but the way we use him is much different, right? So like, whereas in an ad where it's very direct response, in a retention setting, that could be email and SMS, it could be our organic social channels, could be anywhere that's not that, that we're talking to people that are already into the HexCloud ecosystem. We're trying to entertain people with Gordon, right? We already talked about this. He's an incredible entertainer. People love his content, and we are not. I'm a big believer in jab, jab, punch, which is, I don't know if you've heard of that. Have you? That's Gary Vee's kind of saying of
Gary
like,
Vee,
don't
jab,
always
jab,
sell to
hook.
people.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. He has a book on it. Yep.
or jab, jab, hook, right? Yeah, exactly. So like, I'm a huge believer in that. Like, the more you can entertain people and like give them content they truly want to watch, and like, not there's no action we want them to take. We literally just want them to feel good and be entertained by it. That's just going to make when we launch our 4th of July sale work that much better. When we launch BFCM, that much better. So that's the approach we take with Gordon and retention. Like we do use him like a little bit in our email and SMS, but it's more so like, it's more in our short and long form video content. Like if you go to our organic social, like the Gordon Works at HexClad pages or spots, great example, like pure entertainment value. And then we use him for education as well. Like you'll go to our YouTube page. A couple of our most viewed videos lately are how to cook the perfect steak, how to cook the perfect eggs. So we're trying to provide value to our customers and say, hey, you already bought this pot, right? Or this pan. Now, how do you use it to the best of your ability, right? So in terms of retention, the way we use Gordon is pure entertainment value and pure education value. We don't really try to use Gordon to sell once we've already gotten someone into the door. We're leaning on him for other uses there. And like, at the end of the day, like Gordon doesn't want to be overtly salesy, right? Like that's not his brand. He's an entertainer. He wants to entertain, and he's a chef, which means he wants to teach people how to cook well, right? So those are the distinctions in terms of like, can we track it? Absolutely. Like, you go look at the engagement on those organic Gordon Works at HexClad spots. It's way higher than a lot of our other content. You go look at the video views and the engagement on the how to cook a steak with Gordon Ramsay, how to cook the perfect egg with Gordon Ramsay. The view through on those videos way higher. Like it's so clear to us that that works really well for people that are already in the HexCloud ecosystem. But yeah, definitely very different uses for Gordon depending on like if you bought from us before versus if you've never bought from us before.
Amazing. Got it. And do you use like a post-purchase survey tool where you have like an option under how do you hear about us? You have an option
Mhm.
called Gordon Ramsay. Do you also do that?
Yep.
Okay. Awesome.
We do, yeah. So I'm trying to remember the question off the top of my head. It's like, so we ask people, the very first question we ask people is, how did you first hear about us? And by the way, we put a lot of value into that post-purchase survey, because we have a lot of volume. So we think it kind of normalizes, but also like we have a very long consideration period. So a lot of our conversions, our most common answer for how long do you know about us is 1 to 3 months. Our second most common answer is 3 to 12 months. So a lot of our conversion data is not getting passed back to the ad platforms in that, 7-day click, 1-day view window. But yes, we do ask people, how'd you hear about us? And one of the answers is, it's like, I heard about it from an influencer on social media. If they answer that, then they get split off into a follow-up question. And like 90% plus of the people answering that follow-up question say Gordon Ramsay. So he's an
Amazing.
incredible awareness channel for us. Yeah.
That is brilliant. Yeah, he is most definitely, uh, engaged in retention as well. So for sure. All right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And our head of content has done an incredible job, by
For
the
sure.
way. His name is Matt Ducker. He started
Okay.
January 1st, and he's done an incredible job creating that education and entertainment type content that I just mentioned.
Shout out to Matt for sure.
Shout out to Matt. So yeah, so
Shout out to
the
Matt.
question we ask is, how did you first hear about us? If someone says, what's the answer here? From someone I follow on social media, then they get a follow-up question, say, cool, who was it? And most of
Okay.
those people say Gordon Ramsay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. You have a bunch of cool influences. Like I'm an avid follower of HexClad across my two different Instagram accounts. So I love getting the, posts. I think there's someone called Dad Chef or something like that. I forget.
Yep, yep. Dad
That's
chefs. Yeah,
that's
you
that,
look.
that that's all that's also pretty cool. Yeah, I love that as well. All right,
Yeah,
awesome. Awesome. I want to just double click on one thing, which is community. Like you have a HexClad community, actually two things. You have a HexClad community, right? How do you grow it? What do you do for engagement and do you track retention from it? Yeah. So that's question one.
yeah,
Question two is like I
yeah,
want to hear about the swag stuff. Like does it also affect retention? Like you sell tote bags, which is really nice. Yeah.
yeah. So just to touch on the community, I think the community that we have, it's called Cooking with HexCloud on Facebook. It's roughly 11,000 people strong. That is not owned by us. That was started by that was crowd started. So like it's pretty crazy to think that, and granted now we are involved, like we do have a seat at the table now, and a big part of our thinking this year and like overarching strategy is how do we like leverage this community better? But I think that's a really cool thing, first and foremost, is that we did not start that. That is not owned by HexClad. Ashley from HexClad, who's our community manager, is in the group and she has kind of like become a moderator of the group now. But that only happened because we approached the woman named Bobby who did start it. We're like, hey, Bobby, we would love to be involved here and work with you. But ultimately, we don't own that group, which is, I think it speaks to how much people love HexClad in our products,
Raving
right? That
fans.
they
Yeah.
started it. Yeah,
True
exactly,
true fans.
exactly.
True
So,
fans. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So, in terms of how do we grow it, it does grow naturally, right? There's like 20, 30 posts a day in there about HexClad, like people posting pictures of their meals, asking about products, like asking about techniques for certain meals. It's pretty cool. We've just started implementing some growth tactics because ultimately we think it can be a great acquisition for our channel for us. So if you haven't bought from HexClad yet and you've made it through all of our like pre-purchase flows and you still haven't bought, a great place to get your questions answered is the community. So that's part of the welcome flow now. Like if you go opt into hexclad.com, I think the fourth or fifth email is the push to cooking with HexClad. We just rolled that out like last week, 2 weeks ago. So the kind of the process, like A, like what's the content and how do we want to engage with this group? And then B, like how do you grow it? Right. So like putting those like automations that are pushing people to the group is going to be huge for us, especially in that welcome flow, which are our, most populated email automation and SMS automation. So that's growth tactic number one. Growth tactic number two is similar, but like that email I just mentioned to you, the entire email is about cooking with HexClad and like why it's important. And then we're also going to create kind of like some blocks that'll go in a campaign that might not be about that specifically, but it's the same way you put like plug your socials at the bottom of your website, or you plug your socials at the bottom of an email in a footer. Or you might plug a referral program at the bottom of an email in a footer. Like we're going to start plugging that group every third or every fourth email just so people can see it. And if they want to click through and check it out and join, they can. So that's kind of the growth tactics around it. We're also starting to try and leverage it in our ads as social proof. Like, hey, we have all these, we have all these people that have bought from us. We have all these, celebrity endorsements. We have all these press hits. We have 10,000 people in a Facebook group that love HexClad. So like leading into it in acquisition more. And then ultimately we're going to have post-purchase survey or post-purchase flows, excuse me. It's like, hey, if you bought twice from us or three times for us, like you're obviously a HexClad evangelist. Like we want you in this group interacting with other HexClad evangelists. So that is, and like we 100% see it, like the performance of it. Like you see people in there saying like, I'm really on the fence about this. Like, should I get it? And you see the HexCloud evangelists, like the HexCloud army come into the comments, like, yes, get it. Like, I love that product. So like they really help us for acquisition in there. As far as retention goes, absolutely works super well for us. Like part of the value add that we say, hey, if you join the Cooking with HexCloud group, like you'll get early access to new products, you'll get early access to sales. So that's a big thing. Like every time we launch a new product, it goes live in Cooking with HexCloud like 2 to 3 days ahead of time, just as a token of our gratitude for these people that love our brand so much. And we'll always see like, 20, 30, 40 sales for any individual product prior to the public facing launch, which is always a really amazing way to kind of get that ball rolling. Not to mention, who's going to get the first review request for that new product? It's the Cooking with HexClad people that bought 3 days prior to everyone else. So it's like also a great way to get like super good reviews on the product page from people that we know love our products. So that's a big like retention tactic with them. Besides those two things, we try to make it super just engaging, right? It's like, hey, we're going to do a contest this month. The contest is best chicken parm. If you win, here's your prize. And like all you need to do to get in this contest is like take a picture or video of your finished dish, put a little blurb about it in the group, and then at the end of the month we're gonna pick someone. So it's kind of the same play with why we're putting out Gordon Works at HexClad, right? Like it's just an entertaining engagement play. It also produces awesome content that we can use across our marketing channels. But like our Cook with HexClad, like our evangelists love that. Like, oh my God, hell yeah, I want to
Agreed.
participate in like the June chicken parm competition. Like that's so much fun. And like that one is less trackable from a like sales perspective, but it's so clear that it's working really well when you see the volume of content and the volume of engagement that happens with campaigns and activations like that. So
True.
those are big ones. We use our community in a variety of ways, and we're continuing to develop like the kind of like content pillars and activations we want to do with them. Like ultimately, we want to start leveraging them for product development, right? Like, hey, do you like this color, this color? Are you more interested in this design versus this design? I think that's an incredible place to go glean that information from. There's probably another 10 use cases that we talked about internally for that group. I
Amazing.
think by the end of the year, that group will be 100,000 people strong because
See.
we've just started to like grow it from our end. Yeah. So we'll see. I think that's going to be a huge pillar of our business in years to come.
Right up to this column during the group. I just want to see it. So, like I
Yeah.
have never bought from HexClad, but I am like eh, half of the posts on IG, I think I keep tagging HexClad like every cooking video. Hey, go and check out HexClad. Like they're so cool. Plus, there's a reason why I think people love posting with the HexClad products is it just looks so premium, right? Like I mean, you like not to, dishearten anyone, but if it's like a really premium product, you want to show it off, right? If you bought an amazing car,
Yeah.
like or like a Ducati bike or something like that, like a huge ass bike, you would want to show it off. Like I think Hexclad has that vibe to it, right? That it's a whole different
Totally.
thing. Yeah. So which is why even the photos look so good, right? Like a random $20, pan from I don't know Costco won't look as good. So for sure, yeah,
Totally. No, I mean, Danny, who's our co-founder and CEO, like that's his core competency is product development. And him, along with our vice president of, I guess, product development, June Kim, they do an incredible job. Like they have an and this is part of the reason I wanted to come here, right? Is like those two are amazing at product development. Jason, who's the president, has a deep rooted understanding in finance as like an M&A lawyer and banker. And like, I'm like, okay, well, I can come in and be really effective as a growth marketer with these other two pillars. But like, yeah, Danny and June are like, they're product development masters. Like they really get it. They have an incredibly high standard. Like they will send shit back to the factory time and time again until it's just how they want it. And like you said, it shows. Like you look at that product and you're like, okay, it makes sense that this is a $199 12-inch pan. But also, our core value prop is durability. And Danny will be the first person to tell you that we want to get like the consumer's cash, but we only want it once, right? Because if you buy a 12-inch pan for $199 from us, it's gonna last you for 10 years or longer, right? So it's like, yes, it's a very premium pan, but you compare that to buying like a 30 or 40 or $50 pan for wherever place,
you'll buy
whatever
it
brand,
five
like
times.
you're actually
Yeah,
exactly. So you're actually probably going to spend more money on that over the course of 5, 10 years than you would on a single 12-inch HexCloud pan. And that's a core belief of our business of like, we are unapologetically premium, but at the same time, like we really believe that we're going to sell you a product a single time and you're never going to have to replace it. Granted, we want to sell you other products of ours, right? But we don't want to sell you another 12-inch pan unless you want to give it to someone because we truly think it's going to be durable enough to last a lifetime. And that's why we offer
amazing.
a lifetime warranty.
That's I didn't know that. That's insane. Okay, lifetime warranty for a product. That's even the biggest hardware companies don't do it. That's insane. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
We are almost at the end of it, but I do have a few questions. So one, what are the metrics that you track? And I want to like come back to the point that you made earlier, which was retention percentage isn't really like the right metric to track. I agree
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Yeah.
So how do you track it then?
Yeah. So a big, and knowing that we had such like our roadmap for product development this year is massive. Like I probably spend 15 to 20% of my time thinking about product drop strategy across our like, all right, here's the new product. How are we going to message it? Which channels are we going to message it on? And like that's something we've gotten really good at this year, I think. I think the barbecue pan we launched was the best yet. Like we did a really good job of A, spacing it out over time, and B, messaging it through different lenses. So it's like first drop, like here's the product, here's what makes it special, here's what you do with it. Then let's position it in the context of bundles. Then let's position it in the context of Father's Day. Then let's position it in the context of this brand collaboration we're doing. Like we really crushed it. We did a pre-product launch teaser page that crushed it. But like our biggest retention metric so far this year, and granted we look at others, is returning customer orders, returning customer revenue. And like, are we getting a bigger, and now granted, there's a lot of other things that we're gonna like start looking at closer, but in the context of product drops this year and the amount of new customers we brought in the previous year, we knew that if we could really increase the percentage year-over-year growth of those two metrics, then we'd be doing our job from a retention standpoint. Now, granted, ultimately, there's a lot of other things you can look at, right? Of like, what percentage of your customer base owns knives or a salt and pepper grinder? How do we increase that percentage? What about, oh, I just had one. Oh, what about the cohort of people that have bought 2 times or 3 times or 4 times? Like, if that's at, 100 people, which obviously that's not the actual case, but if it's 100 people, like, what do we do to get that to 200 people? But so far, the leading one has been the returning orders and the returning customer revenue. And now the reason I don't like percentage of like returning customer rate or even like percentage of revenue attributed to Klaviyo is a leading retention metric is because our returning customer rate is flat year over year. It's just under 24% this year. It was just under 24% last year, but our returning customer orders have over doubled this year and our returning customer revenue has over doubled this year. So we're doing our job from a retention standpoint pretty well, I think. But if you looked at that percentage, you'd be like, well, why is this flat? They must not be increasing their returning customer orders. That's not the case. We've just also doubled our first time orders this year. So as a percentage, it hasn't changed, right? So the reason I don't like revenue attributed to Klaviyo is because like that's also going to be manipulated so easily. So let's say, for example, like
Yeah.
let's say I'm running a pop-up offer, but you don't need to go to the welcome series to get the actual offer, right? Versus, let's say I am running a pop-up offer and I make you go to the welcome first email to get that code. Okay, well, in the second scenario, your revenue attributed to Klaviyo is going to skyrocket, right? But it's like nothing really changed about the orders you're getting or the funnel. You just gave them an additional step where they have to click on the email. So I don't know. I like to follow returning customer order growth more than I like to follow those two metrics. The other one we look at is 12-month lifetime value and percentage trends in that. So the reason we look at percentage trends in that is it tells us if we're improving the value of a customer period over period. So like if you look at July of 21 to July of 2022, it's gone up like the 12-month LTV of those two cohorts year over year has gone up 42%. So like to me, it's like, all right, well, we're doing our job of selling our existing customer base more products. So that's a big one. And then we'll look at cohorts by first product order. It's like 13-piece set versus 6-piece set versus now that we have a bunch of different products in the mix, we need to start getting more granular about this. And now that we're playing with different acquisition offers, because like, we might see a starter, but this is just speculative and this is not hard data, but like we might see someone that bought a starter bundle for 225, they might double their value to around $500. Where if someone came in on the 13-piece set on their first order, which is a $700 product, well, that might only grow, 10, 15, 20% over 12 months. So it's like, but it's all relative to the net dollars they spent on their first order. So we're really starting to like try to get smarter about things like that and like think about, can we acquire a pepper grinder at a loss because over time we're going to profit this much on them? Those are some of the kind of more like in the weeds, convoluted metrics
Amazing.
that we are starting to think about. I wouldn't say we're like totally wrapped around those metrics quite yet, but we are thinking about those and like incorporating those into our retention KPIs and like making tactics that are meant to improve those and then measuring against those.
Brilliant, brilliant. I love that explanation, and yeah, for sure, retention. You shouldn't generally track retention percentage, especially with tools like Klaviyo, because they tend to they tend to make a mistake in the sense that which benefits
Yeah.
them, right? For sure.
Yeah. Over attribute like
Or
form and
attribution, literally, yeah. So it's
yeah.
like
Yeah.
you have like 14x ROAS. So
Yeah.
it's never the
So
case.
the one
But
caveat I'll say there is
yeah,
I'm okay with using in-platform metrics for relative comparison. So let's say, for example, let's say next month we're auditing our welcome series flow, and our goal is to improve our click to order rate. I think that's a scenario where I am okay looking at Klaviyo's, like let's say email one, for example, let's say our click to order rate's 10%, whatever. And I have the goal of getting it to 12% or 15% or whatever it is. I am okay with looking at in platform for that because it's apples to apples. Whether it's over attributing or under attributing,
absolutely.
it's going to be
Yeah,
doing the
it doesn't
same
matter.
model
Yeah,
for both.
yeah,
Exactly. Exactly. So it's all relative. And it's like the same with like Facebook ad performance. Like, okay, you might not trust Facebook ads reporting net as a whole channel, but like if you're looking at ad A versus ad B, it's probably modeling attribution the same way for those two ads. So thus, if ad A sets at a $70 CAC and ad B is at a $100 CAC, then chances, and assuming the same offer, then chances are ad A is, the one you should scale
better.
and roll with, right? So that's the caveat I will say with like Klaviyo or any platform reported metrics, right? Is like it's all relative. Like in platform to in platform, I'm fine with using those KPIs in comparison, but like the platform reported metrics as a whole channel, I'm like, that's all bullshit, right? Like,
Without a doubt. Like, I mean, those make for great case studies, to be honest, for them. Anyway,
of course, of course.
all right, awesome. So, a couple of final questions. One is, what's your tech stack? What tools do you use?
Oh yeah, that's a fun question. Tech stack, Northbeam for attribution, Klaviyo for email, Attentive for SMS, Attentive for our pop up, Junit for reviews, Replo for landing pages. We use this company called Revo for our referral program. I think they're a newer company. Let me get into our apps here. Oh, we use Rebuy for pre and post purchase on site upselling. We use CleanCart for discount code blocking. We use Intelligence for price testing, Peel for retention analytics, No for post purchase surveys. We use Octane for a quiz that we're working on right now that's not rolled out yet, but will be at some point. Atari for connected and linear TV ad buying. Grin for creative management, or Firm for pay over time. Those are the big ones. Yeah, those are the main ones.
Amazing. Yeah, love it. Yeah, you should probably use Mountain for CTV. Then you can also get Ryan Reynolds as your as another one of your top.
We've been in chats with Mountain actually. Yeah,
Amazing.
we've been thinking about maybe giving them. We really love Tatari though. Like they're fantastic. Their team's
Yeah,
amazing, and that's become a really awesome channel for us. Yeah.
they're without a doubt great. Yeah, I just saw a connection there. I'm like, okay, yeah, you guys should just do it. Uh,
Hey, I wouldn't mind having a HexClad connection to
true,
Ryan Reynolds. I'm sure that would
without a
pay
doubt,
off pretty
without a doubt.
well.
Oh, 100%, 100%. And that guy can make ads. Oh my god, they're like too good.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've seen him. Yeah.
okay, so final question: What's your what's a mistake that you see constantly happening in DDC and retention? That's one. And what's your top advice
Yeah.
for any founder, any DDC brand trying to set up retention or scale retention?
Yeah, I think honestly the answer is the same for both questions. I think there's a lot of shiny object syndrome in our industry. Like everyone wants to be using the up and coming like media buying tech or like the next cool thing to do in like email, which it seems to be like interactive email. And like all that stuff's great, right? And all of that stuff can drive a lift for your business and perform well. Like we're onboarding with Spellbound and about to test out Spellbound, which is like interactive emails, which is really cool. But don't do that until you've like really dialed in the core retention tactics, right? Like until you've dialed in like your core email SMS automations in your like core email and SMS campaign strategy, like there's no reason for you to go out and like try interactive emails or try like some sort of AI powered media buying targeting. Like, why would you do that if your creative is like a 4 out of 10, right? So I think like it's very simple, but it's like do the basics super, super well. Like if you go to our site right now, you'll notice that we don't have a loyalty program on our site yet. We're working on it and it's like probably 80% of the way there, but it's not ready yet. And the reason it's not ready yet is because we wrote out a referral program that had a lot of work to be done on it. I'm like, we're not going to roll out this loyalty program until we've really dialed in the referral program. And we're not going to why would I roll out a loyalty program when I don't even have some of my basic post-purchase product cross sells in place yet? Like that to me is more important and going to drive a bigger lift than having a loyalty program. The loyalty program is very important, but I've consciously said, no, 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 we need to wait on this because these three things are more important first. And again, I think it's very easy for people to get shiny object syndrome in our industry. And my advice would be to like resist that as much as you can. Like do the basics incredibly well. Like that's going to provide a lot more revenue and lift in retention performance than like rolling out that, fancy new shiny thing that is going to take up a lot of your time to implement, a lot of your time to track, a lot of time communicating with their team because they always want to take a meeting and review results and yada, yada, yada. Like, no, no, no. That's great. Once you have all your core stuff dialed in, like dial in the core stuff, and then you can start like rolling out some of those incremental things, right? Like I love our referral program. It's great. It's already driven 6 figures in incremental revenue, but only after our email and SMS have driven 7, 8 figures in incremental revenue, right? Like that's how I look at it. Focus on the things that are going to drive the most lift first and do them really, really, really well. And then go on to the next thing. Like if you spread yourself thin across all of it, you're going to end up doing the core things subpar. You're going to do the shiny object subpar. And that's all up going to drive less lift in your retention, returning customer orders, LTV, all that jazz. So it's just do the basics well, man. It's nothing crazy,
Amazing.
but like I just think a lot of brands probably don't put enough, ourselves included. Like the reason I'm saying this is because we literally like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, put a pause on implementing any new like ecom tech partners that enable better retention or acquisition or whatever, because we just think internally there's so many core things that we can improve. And we have, as you can imagine, like we have a ton of people like reaching out, wanting to work with us. Like we had to put a company wide growth marketing stop on it because it was just taking up valuable time from our internal team that we thought was better spent elsewhere. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's just like, let's do the basics incredibly well. And that's going to drive 80 to 85% of our retention.
Without a doubt. And you won't believe this, but I have had like 7, 8, 9 figure brands, and you're obviously a 9 figure brand. All of them have said the same thing, right? Do the basics right, do the
Really?
basics well, 100%. Like I just had Dan from Create, like the Create gummies, like the creating gummies, right? And he said the exact same thing. Like
Hmm.
he said, you know what? We do text-based emails, and we just keep on hammering on text-based emails until we can squeeze no juice out of it. Because it works, and
I love that.
it works phenomenally well. So doing the basics, I think a lot of people just underestimate it. Like, people just they want to use this fancy tool which can get you emails. They want to use this amazing email platform which has like automated reviews attached to it, something like that. I don't know.
Yep.
But
Yep.
at the end of the day, it's just basics. Yeah. I love that. That is the consistent advice. I love it.
Yeah.
Um
I mean, it's the
uh,
it's the same way that like you could have the best creative in the world, but if your unit economics don't, like if you have, 30% landed margin, it's never gonna work. Like it's like you got to start upstream and dial that stuff in before you move downstream to everything else that's available. And there's always going to be more to do and more things, more tools being created and more people trying to sell you stuff. But you gotta like that stuff won't work if you don't have the basics dialed in. It's not gonna, running the next new ad that drops your CPA by $5, $10 isn't gonna fix the problem of having a 30% landed margin. Like you're still gonna be losing money as a business. Same thing with email. Like adding in, interactive emails isn't gonna fix you not having a good idea of the content that you want to send in a campaign style or not having like your pre-purchase welcome flow dialed in. Like that's not going to fix anything, right? It's just going to be a distraction. So it's good to hear that some other people in the
Without a
performance
doubt.
growth world are also thinking about that.
I love it. It was Like I was getting deja vu, literally exact same thing over and over again. That's
That's funny.
amazing.
That's funny.
All right, awesome. I think we are pretty much at the end. It was great having you, Connor. This was such an enlightening podcast. I learned so much about retention, especially how it works in such a massive enterprise like HexClad with so many different moving parts simultaneously getting executed. I appreciated you explaining that. But before you go, where can people find you, and where can they ask for help, or where can they, well, jam in
Yeah.
Denver, I guess?
Yeah, well, hey, yeah, if anyone's ever out in Denver, they definitely gotta hit me up. We have a small but mighty e-com crew out here in Denver,
Amazing.
some really awesome operators and marketers. But online, you can find me on Twitter. Just search me by my name, Connor Rolain, or my handle is ecom, ecom underscore con, con. Yeah, fairly active on there. I try to put out, mainly case study type content, right? Like, hey, here's a
I
thread
love
on
them.
something we did, and here's why I did or didn't work, and then just like engaging with other people's stuff to jam, because at the end of the day, like we all have the same problems, we all have the same losses and wins, and I just think it's a lot easier. You can avoid some mistakes, right, by
Yeah.
leveraging your community, and I try to both provide value to the community and glean insights from the community. But yeah, that's probably the best place to find me. As far as e-com stuff, I'm on Instagram at Connor Rolain as well, but that's more of my just, what I'm doing in my life. That's all the e-com stuff's out on Twitter. So that's the best place for that content.
Yeah, but if you wanna watch, Connor in his, like, well, outside of e-com, Instagram, just see him skating or
Exactly.
some stuff. I don't know what he does, but
Yeah,
I
I'll
gotta
try to
follow
I'll
him
try to
on
get some more
Instagram.
more skiing 360. I got to get some more 360 content on the skis next winter.
You can most definitely do that, and probably they'll end up on HexClad. Who knows? Amazing.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, Connor, it's been a pleasure. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Of course. No, thanks for having me on. This is a blast. I appreciate it.
All right, take care. Bye.